It gives me great honor to stand in front of you today to give you an overview of the ZTE mobile devices. Now, some of you might not know ZTE, and some of you do. Let me just give you a little bit of history. ZTE has been in the business for telecommunications for the past 30 years. As a matter of fact, we just celebrated our 30th year anniversary. But I'm here to talk about mobile devices this morning, because at the end of the day, this show's about consumer electronics, and we want to be a big part of it. So for ZTE mobile devices, we have been in business for the past 17 years, starting in 1998. And cumulatively, we actually shipped over 600 million devices around the globe. And as I'm speaking here today, we estimate there are about 60 million active users that are using ZTE devices. For last year, we actually shipped close to 100 million devices, representing a 20% year-over-year growth from the smartphone perspective. So we shipped about 48 million smartphones out of the 100 million devices that we shipped last year. And we are actually setting our goal for this year is actually 60 million smartphones while maintaining the 100 million total shipment. So we are doing quite well, as you can see, for the past 5-6 years. And in terms of the US market, we are actually the only Chinese OEM that has a significant market share in the United States. So the overall market share for devices, we're setting at about 7% at the end of last year. And as far as prepaid, no contract, we're actually number 2 player in that market with 21% market share. And we're working with all the carriers in the US, big ones and smaller ones. And we're working with the big e-commerce channels like Amazon, eBay, Newegg, to promote our devices on their websites. And we're also working with the big box retailers, Walmart, Best Buy, Target. So you walk into those stores and buy ZTE products. And I think we mentioned earlier that the NBA teams were actually an official sponsor of 3 teams: the New York Knicks, the Golden State Warriors, and the Houston Rockets. For those of you who follow NBA, the Houston Rockets and the Golden State Warriors are actually doing quite well. But the New York Knicks, not so much. Maybe next year. For China market, it's also a very important market for us. And we are focusing on 3 series of smartphones: the Grand Series, the Star Series, and the Blaze Series, which I will show you some of those devices after I finish with my company overview. And we are actually have just more than smartphone, mobile broadband modems, CPEs. So we are a tier 1 provider for LTE devices in those markets, and we have a very, very strong relationship with all 3 carriers in China. What about other markets? We are also doing extremely well in the APAC region and in the European markets, also in Latin America and the Middle East and Africa. So in Europe, for example, we have a device in the Turkey market called the Blade VAC 4G. That device was actually, according to some statistics, was the number 1 selling device in that market. And we're working with the carriers and also slowly and surely putting the ZTE logos on every single phone that you're seeing on the market. The question that I got asked a lot of times is, we don't really know ZTE makes devices. I think one of the reasons is that you might be actually buying the devices that carries a carrier, an operator's logo, rather than a ZTE logo. But that's changing. We're actually changing that. We're shifting from an ODM to an OEM, and that's true in the European market, and that's true in the US market, and that's true in all of the markets. Now let's talk about innovative products. So what I have in this slide are 3 smartphones and 1 device we call the S Pro 2. So you might be asking, okay, these are just smartphones, and we got 1 device here. But we call them innovative products because each of these smartphones has these unique features. So for example, I have this Star 2 that I'm holding. This was launched in China a few months ago, and this is what we call the industry-first smartphone that has a system-level voice control. It's always on, always listening for a command to trigger you to use voice to do a lot of things. So as I'm speaking, it's actually listening. Allow me to give you a quick demonstration. I already programmed this phone to only accept my voice. I could simply say, Waiman star 2, play music. So all this is being done without the phone tying to the network. Let me just stop this music. Stop music. There you go. You might be asking yourself, there's a lot of voice technologies in this marketplace. But let me tell you, this phone here, what I've just done is not connected to any network. So technologies like, for example, Siri and other out there, you are always required to be connected to the cloud. So we at ZTE think that's a good solution. There are stuff that's supposed to go to the cloud, but stuff like opening music, opening camera, and doing a lot of things inside the phone, it should be embedded. So what we've done here, we've embedded all of those solutions. We optimize the voice control capability in a smartphone so you can be driving. I'm not sure in other markets, but in the United States, for example, you're not supposed to actually talk while you're driving in most of the states. So with this phone, you're not only hands-free, you're eyes-free. You can actually talk. When someone calls you, you can actually use your voice to accept phone call, reject phone call, and actually send a text message, all being done with the voice, without you even looking at the phone. So this actually got a lot of patents that are supported by this device, more than 1,000 patents that are behind this Star 2. And 158 of them are actually voice control related, and we're working with different companies to bring the latest and greatest voice control technology in this phone. And we are extremely proud that this product has been doing very well in China, and we're going to bring this phone to other markets. It's already available in Germany, and we're going to bring this out to other markets in the APAC region and in the European regions. Now the next device is what we call the Blade S6. This was launched a couple months ago. This is what I would call a affordable premium device. It's a great looking device, 5-inch HD, running the latest Android operating system, Android Lollipop. But what we implemented in this phone is something called the Smart Sense. What is the Smart Sense? So we implemented a set of gesture and motion control features that allow users to do a lot of things just by motion and gestures. So for example, let me give you a scenario. Let's say you're out in a party, you're coming home late, and it's really dark, and you try to open up the door, and there's no light. What would you do? If you have a phone, a smartphone, you would try to open up the app and try to find a torch. Now with this phone, all you have to do is wiggle it. It comes on. And you wiggle again, it comes off. Right? Isn't that convenient? So we implement not just this set of features, but many other features in this, what we call the Smart Sense, which we think will improve consumers' lifestyles and just make them that much better. This is what we call the industry's smartest mobile projector. We at ZTE actually is the first company that invented this new category of device called the smart projector. This is what I would call a toolbox, an all-in-one toolbox. What does it include? First of all, it runs Android operating systems. It has a 5-inch touchscreen display, and it also has a built-in HD projector, in this case up to 120-inch at 200 lumens at HD quality. So essentially you have a mobile projector with you all the time, and it's got a huge built-in battery, so you can actually stream an entire movie without being tethered to anything. So think about the scenarios you can use this. In a business meeting, you can take this with you. You can actually store content locally in this device, or you can get it from the web because it's all to the cloud. It supports Wi-Fi, it supports 4G LTE, as well as 3G. And it's also a Wi-Fi hotspot. So if you want to share your fast connections, you're able to share up to 8 connections with this device. And more importantly, it's a projector, so you can actually have your presentation done without worrying about plugging in your computer to a projector and try to play with all those, waste 5-10 minutes just to get all that set up. Everything can be done with this device. So that's the business perspective. From the personal perspective, entertainment perspective, you can take this with you on vacation. You're going out on camping. You want to watch a football game. You want to watch a soccer game. Whatever you want to call it, right? So you could have this. You could actually stream this. You are able to, especially out in the dark, you are able to turn this on. And it's got autofocus. You know, imagine you're in bed, lay in your bed, and you can just do this. Last but not least, we actually launched another device last month. It's called the Nubia. So to those of you who are not familiar, Nubia is our sub-brand under the ZTE mobile devices. So for those of you that knows Nubia, the halo feature is the camera. So we want to give user a digital SLR-like experience in a smartphone. Look at the pictures that are taken by this phone. It's stunning. And we have improved the UI, as you can see in this picture, so you can actually dial using your fingers. I can actually show a demo here later, but you can use your fingers to do a lot of professional mode type of adjusting. For example, exposure level, focus, white balance, and metering, all of that at the fingertip in a smartphone. And this is actually one of the first smartphones that introduces what we call the independent focus and metering. You're able to separate the light source and the focus in different points. So we are the first smartphone that actually implemented this feature, what I call second to none camera experience. Since last year, ZTE has what we call an MICT vision. What's MICT? So ICT is a very familiar term that industry knows. It stands for Information and Communication Technologies. But we put an M in front of it. But what does M stand for? So we believe in the future there's going to be many connectivities, many mobiles. M2M is going to truly take off. We're talking about machine-to-machine communications. The proliferation, I call it, of M2M. Application needs to be more secure, and it's going to be more and more services running on an ultra-fast network. And this is what we call MICT. So at ZTE, we are prepared to take this MICT vision and implement it into our devices, as you have seen on some of the devices that I'm showing you, and also on the network side, because we're also a network provider.